بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أما بعد. In part 1 of this series, the last true Christians, meaning the last people who truly adhere to the real religion of Isa ibn Maryam, or Jesus the son of Mary, peace be upon him, we relay the story of a man named Thamir. Go ahead and see the previous video on that if you haven't already. It is an interesting story. There is another narration about some of the last true Christians mentioned by Ibn Hishaam. Similarly, this story also recounts or tells how Christianity reached the land of Najran, which is in the southern Arabian Peninsula. The story picks up when a righteous man upon Tawheed enters the land of Najran, and he sets up camp between Najran, the main village or the main town or city of Najran, and a smaller village on the outskirts of that. Ibn Hishaam mentions from Ibn Ishaq that he is Thamir, although he says that he was not named in some narrations. And also in this narration, there is no mention about him being sold into slavery. So there seems to be some difference of opinion as to whether this individual is actually Thamir or not. In any case, the general folk of Najran at this time was still upon shirk. There was a magician in the village mentioned before, the village on the outskirts, that is. And the people of Najran would send their kids to this magician to learn magic from him. One particular boy named Abdullah ibn Thamir, Abdullah the son of Thamir, was sent by his father, Thamir, along with the other children. On the way to the village, the children would pass by this righteous man who had set up his camp in between. Abdullah bin Thamir became amazed by this righteous man's worship, and he would observe him praying and so forth, and he was amazed by that. Abdullah began sitting with this man, and not long after, he embraced Islam. He started learning the rules of Islam. And again, when we say Islam here, we are talking about the true religion of Isa alayhi salam, as Islam used in a general sense is the word for the true religion of any prophet or messenger that came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, other people would refer to this as Christianity, and the true religion of Isa, Jesus, peace be upon him, but we are talking about pure monotheism. And we should also note that while this was going on, Thamir, Abdullah's father, believed that Abdullah was in fact learning magic. So back to Abdullah ibn Thamir, he is sitting with this righteous man for such a lengthy period of time that he learns the regulations and so forth, the rules, and he learns about the creed of Islam. One day he asks this righteous man about the greatest name of Allah, or as we would say, Ismullah al-A'zam. And just as a side note, we should know that there are some ahadith that mention that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is called upon by his greatest name, that he always responds. It is a name that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not refuse when he is called by. So in any case, Abdullah bin Thamir, he asks this man about the greatest name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The righteous man, he responds by saying, "My nephew, I fear that you are not strong enough." When Abdullah heard this, he gathered some cups or small clay pots that he had, and he began writing the names of Allah on each cup. Each cup individually, he wrote one of the names of Allah. And then when he finished writing the names of Allah on all of these cups, or these clay pots, these small pots, he lit a fire and he began putting the pots into the fire one by one. And eventually he came across a pot or a cup with one of the names of Allah. When he placed it in the fire, it popped back out. It came out of the fire unscathed. Abdullah realized what this name was. So he went to his teacher and informed him that he knew the greatest name of Allah. He asked him, "How do you know?" So Abdullah explained what he did. His teacher then told him, "Nephew, you are indeed correct, but you must keep this to yourself and I believe that you will not. It seems clear at this point that the teacher was afraid for Abdullah's life, that if he were to misuse this, then he would become known and perhaps some type of harm would befall him or something of the case. But Abdullah was not deterred by this. So after learning the greatest name of Allah, Abdullah would go into the city of Najran, and anyone who was sick that he came across, he would address them and he would say, "O servant of God, if you worship none but Allah and enter my faith, I will pray for you and you will be healed from whatever it is that you suffer from." He would make this offer to them, and people started to accept. Person came and he agreed. Abdullah would pray for him and then he would be cured.
Allahu Akbar.
And then soon the news of this began to spread throughout Najran, so much that all of the people who had some kind of sickness, some kind of affliction, they went to see Abdullah ibn Thamir and they all accepted Islam. Well, not long after that, news of course began to spread, and eventually it reached the king of that region. When news was brought to the king, he summoned Abdullah. The king, he said, "You have corrupted the people of my land and opposed my religion and the religion of my forefathers, and I will make an example out of you." Abdullah replied to him that you will not be able to do so. The king commanded that Abdullah be taken to a tall mountain and thrown off the top. However, when Abdullah was thrown, he came back unharmed. The king then had him thrown into a body of water in Najran that no one ever survived falling into. But again, he came out unharmed. So Abdullah told the king, "You will not be able to kill me until you accept that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah, and believe in what I believe in. Only then you can kill me." Upon this, the king pronounced the declaration of faith and struck Abdullah with a stick in his hand. The strike left a small cut, but the boy fell dead. Immediately, the king also fell dead. After this incident, the people of Najran united on Islam, as it was left by Isa ibn Maryam, or Jesus, the son of Mary. And then, after some time had passed, slowly and slowly, after generations, innovation entered among them, and the religion changed as it did in other places. This narration presents an alternative to the story of Thamir presented before, an alternate version of how Christianity entered Najran. Although neither of these narrations can be confirmed as 100% authentic, Ibn Ishaq mentioned that they were narrated from the people of that region. As noted, not all narrations of the second story name the righteous man as Thamir. However, it is possible that Thamir left the village he was residing in after the people accepted his faith. We know that Thamir preferred a solitary lifestyle, so it is entirely possible he set up camp in another area after the first story. Remember, he never liked people knowing that his dua was answered, and this would have been exposed at the end of the first story, that is, the first story mentioned in the other video. We could therefore reasonably deduce that if both narrations are true, that only the people in the first town that he resided in accepted the faith at the end of the first story. And in this story, the second story, it tells of another area or town or village of Najran that came to accept the faith. Both of these are entirely possible. In the one narration, we had people accepting because of Thamir and the dua that he made to uproot the tree and so forth. And this, we actually have people accepting the faith because of Abdullah ibn Thamir. And again, they both may be in different locations within Najran itself. So both of them are possible. We also note the similarity of this story to the story of Al-Ukhdud mentioned in the Quran. Again, bearing minor differences in details, these stories are not contradictory in essence, although there are some major points that are left out here or there. One of them, of course, being the incident of the trench itself. That is a big factor that is not mentioned here. in any case, whether we can confirm or not confirm the exact details of the story, what we do see in both stories is that the teachings of a righteous man influenced the general population of a town or region. And more specifically to our topic, we see what happened to some of the last people who carried the true religion of Isa ibn Maryam, or Jesus, the son of Mary. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.